Would you rather undergo some terrible trauma, but you end up making it super successful, or not go through any terrible trauma, but you end up living a mediocre life with where you just kind of have an average job, live an average life? Which would you want? Because I'm really convinced that to be successful, there's a level of brokenness you need to have to get there. And I'm going to break that down today. I know I've already made an episode about this a couple of days ago, but my ideas, I think, are a little bit more refined. And the difference between this episode and the episode I made a few days ago is there's actually a little bit of a different perspective that I've kind of come up with when it comes to this idea that to be successful, you have to be broken. And it's truly like the secrets to success. But this is the decision you have to make, right? Do you want to go through that terrible trauma? Because it's horrible, right? We thank God that we have blessed lives, that we haven't gone through any difficulties, but we know that it is through those things that we will have that extra energy. But that's what I'm going to break down today. It is something that is really kind of on my mind right now in this moment in my life. So, of course, I'm going to talk about it on my show. So, welcome back to the 365 Podcast. I make a podcast episode every single day for 365 days. You will be hated for speaking the truth.
You definitely have like an X-ray goggles on, where you can see someone's aura.
A house divided against itself shall not stand. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25.
If you want to make something of yourself, forget your political beliefs.
Because different believers experience God in different ways, different non-believers need different explanations to see God as real. Things that make you angry suck you in.
Satan's plan fails, right? And God's plan prevails.
So the situation here is very simple. I look at myself and I look at my life. I look at where I've fallen short so far. And I look at it as like maybe I just didn't have like that deeper drive to get me over the edge. To when push came to shove, when the pressure was on, to allow me to get through the pressure, to act in full faith rather than fear. What is that thing that allows you to kind of push through any fears that are out there? Because if you're trying to do a big thing, right? For me, it was football career. If you're trying to do a big thing, there's a level of fear that is there because you're stepping so far outside of your comfort zone, so far outside of the realms of normality, so far outside of what other people would consider average. You're going above and beyond into the realms of extraordinary to try and find the answers to your life and try and reach those things you want to reach. Perhaps I didn't make it and I couldn't get myself over the line because I didn't have anything deeper. My motivation was as simple as I had this dream since I was a kid, so let's go and do it. And I think there's something to that. I think there was something really there, but I look back on my days and like I didn't have the intense kind of fiery passion desire. I didn't wake up with like a fire in my belly. I'd wake up and I'd go back to bed because I'm lazy and I kind of sometimes I'm a slave to my own bed at times when I have to wake up early, and then I'm just kind of wallowing away, being groggy and slowly taking forever to actually get up. This was a daily thing. So maybe I'm hard on myself, but I also look at it, it's like, if I went through some brokenness or trauma, would that have got me over the line? Would that have allowed me to be even more motivated, even more driven, and actually performed better, more consistently? I had some good games, some good moments, but other times I would be kind of paralyzed by fear, and that would affect me. I'd make terrible mistakes, and I'd have terrible starts to the season, and it would affect me in many different aspects. I can even go look at my recent pro football trial that I documented on this show. And I can look at it, it's like, was it the fear that stopped me from just doing a little bit more, going a little bit further? Was it? I don't know. But I think just from a logical, like taking myself out of the situation perspective, if I had some trauma going into it, if I was not put together, I think I would have maybe had a bigger chance of making it over the line. Maybe there's always that little bit of aspect of luck. But I think maybe I would have worked harder. I would have done more. I wouldn't have been so inside of my head. Because what trauma and what being broken does for you, now instead of focusing on the fears of the pursuit, you're focused on the other pains that you're dealing with. So you're not even overthinking. You're not even like in your own mind. You're just focused on, oh, I got to do this because of my parents, or I got to do this because of this situation that's going on, right? Because of the poverty that I'm in. And it becomes a desperation. And maybe it is that desperation that puts you in that fight or flight that allows you to kind of override your brain's internal fear mechanisms to then just go fully gung-ho into going and achieving that thing. Especially if it's a big pursuit. For me, it was sports. but for you, it can be anything. If it's business, it can be arts, it can be whatever. Whatever the big pursuit is, whatever that big thing is that you want, you can want it, but maybe you just don't do enough to get there. Because here's the thing. I praise God, and I really do give thanks for the fact that I am well put together. Like, I go through some things, but I really look at the bigger picture of the world. My life is great. Like, I'm conscious about these things. That my life is such a blessing. It's been relatively easy up until this point. I've gone through some difficulties, but reality is, like, it was nothing that was gonna ever break me. It was just, like, small issues that I overcame within weeks. And I praise God for it. Because you also think about the flip side, right? To be broken, it's a terrible feeling. It is a terrible, deep pain that you have to live with sometimes for the rest of your life. And so many people go through that. But so many people also then are allowed to turn that into just a deep obsession towards something else. So I praise God that I am very well put together. I'm not broken at all. I'm very well put together. But then I also think, well, if I was broken in some deeper way, would that have actually benefited me on my journey to being a pro footballer? Would that have actually helped me in some way? I think about all of the people that make it very successful. I think there is a very strong correlation. Maybe not everybody. Maybe somebody just kind of gets lucky, and maybe someone just like has a personality type that just makes them obsessed without the trauma, without the difficult thing kind of plaguing them their whole life. Maybe it's not that existential. But as far as I'm concerned, pretty much everyone that I look at that's like super ultra successful, they were broken in some way. They had some trauma that hurt them. They had something that kind of sat with them for a long time, right? Mr. Beast had to live in his car, for example. He took a huge risk where he didn't pay his tuition. He lied to his parents. And I think he had to live in his car for a certain amount of time. That's pretty bad. That's pretty grueling. If you've done that, it's pretty desperate for you. Even if he's very successful, it's pretty desperate for you, right? You look at someone like Tony Robbins. He went through a horrible childhood. David Goggins went through a horrible childhood. But on the other side of it, they fought those demons and turned it into something good. But they still live with those pains to this day. You don't lose the pains. So when you hear the saying, like, in life there are only trade-offs, that's what I think with my life personally. It's like maybe I would have made it as a success if I had that extra little bit of drive, that extra little bit of obsession caused by some sort of big traumatic event. But then at the same time, you're going to have to deal with that pain your whole life. Whereas even if I didn't make it, and maybe my story's not over yet, but as of now I haven't made it, even if that's not the case, I still like I'm still living a good life. Like, I still have a lot of peace. I still have a lot of joy in my days every day. And that's, that you can't put a measurement onto that, right? You can't put a value, a number to just having a lovely, good life. We do want to be fulfilled, I think, all of us in the end. But something that's just very, very interesting, because I look at it, it's like, yeah, like every successful person is broken in some way. Whether it was some trauma that affected them, some mental issue that just somehow let them move forward into their success. There are a lot of people that are successful that are happy because they've managed to get over those issues. But a lot of people that are successful are not happy because they couldn't get over those issues because of the fact that they put, their success and their career and their money ahead of their own mental health. And that's kind of hurt them. And now that they've reached the success, they've realized that that's not everything and it's not fulfilling them. There's a lot of people like that, but there's also a lot of people that are successful and happy because whatever things they were dealing with, they overcame them. They overcame the pains, and they can now be at peace now knowing that they are a success and they can appreciate that fact. So you have both sides to the equation, but I really do think it is being broken. If you're well put together, you need something there to give you that extra drive and obsession. Maybe for some people it's just a personality trait, but I feel like for the vast majority of people, it's not enough. That's why you see so much mediocrity in the world. That's why so many people are just average and they're okay with being average. Because that's the trade they make. The trade is, okay, you're going to accept being average and mediocre, so you have to live with that. But at least you're not going to be going through some terrible trauma that might destroy you. You're going to live a comfortable life. You're going to live a pretty relatively easy life. And maybe that's good for you. Maybe that is fulfilling for you. And maybe that's what you want. I'm not bashing you for it. I'm not bashing those types of people for it. But they understand that, like, yeah, if they wanted something bigger, a bigger dream, they've had to put that dream to the side because they'd rather just go the safe route, and then they'll be kind of happy and content, and their life will be easy and comfortable. But they won't actually make a bigger dent into something. But if they're okay with that and that's how they function best, then good on them. More power to them. Like, they've won, right? They've won the game of life if that's the case, right? But then the other side, the other trade-off is you want that success, but you know that there's going to be something that breaks you along the way, or something unrelated that breaks you, that makes you even more obsessed, even more driven, even more dedicated, even more desperate, and then to the point where you actually make it happen. So you're going to be successful, but you're actually still miserable because of the fact that you just can't get over that trauma. And so some people are okay with that trade-off because they just want to be successful. They want to make a dent in the world no matter how broken they are. And I think that there's a nobleness to that. But other people look at that trade-off and they're like, I don't know if that's something I want to trade, right? I don't know if I want to trade like my sanity a little bit for money and status. And even if it's like like, I don't know, like you're helping the world, serving the world in charitable works in that type of a way. A lot of people still wouldn't make that trade because of the sacrifices you'd have to go through, because of the pains you would have to go through. And the point I'm trying to make is, like, I think personally, I could be wrong, but I think personally that there is no other option than those two. There is no other option. If you want to be extraordinary, you want to be above average, the only way you're going to be able to just push through the barriers of kind of fears, of laziness, to actually work hard enough to actually get there, the only way you're going to do that is if you have some deeper motivation, some deeper inspiration that actually pushes you over the line for a longer period of time. Motivation is not a good word to describe it because motivation is temporary. But you have a deeper desire that sticks with you. And one of the major ways, if not the major way, is some terrible trauma, brokenness, something that broke you and messed you up. And then you're able to overcome them. I think those are really the only two situations. Like, I don't think there is a world where you can be put together, your life's great, your life's easy, and you're still able to make great success happen. I don't think that's a world. I don't think that is a possibility. And when I say that, obviously you're going to start typing in the comments the contradictions to this fact, but I'm going to say that there's a line. I've now been developing this idea a little bit, that there is a line. There is a threshold to success, to what actually makes success real and what makes it actually not. You think about a streamer, right? These streamers make a lot of money. A guy like Speed or like Aiden Ross or whoever it may be. These guys make a lot of money. But they actually haven't had to sacrifice anything. Their lives are always going to be like that. They're always going to sit there and play video games for 6 hours a day. And so then one day they just decided, oh, let me just stream it. Let me put it online. See if we can have some funny clips. Like, see if we can have some funny moments and get popularity. And that happened for them. But they didn't actually have to make a huge sacrifice to their lifestyle to make that thing happen. Whereas something like being an athlete, for example, because that's the thing that I know best, there are a lot of huge sacrifices you need to make. And if you're put together and if you kind of look at and weigh the pros and cons, you can kind of be paralyzed by the fear. And you're more susceptible to kind of rationalizing not taking the risk. And obviously then you're guaranteeing that you're not going to be getting to where you want to go, right? You're going to have to make huge sacrifices, huge changes, huge increases in the level of output that you put towards something, if it is something that big. And I think to do that, you have to be broken. So these guys are successful, these streamers, but their lives aren't actually like that much different than what their normal lives would be. They just decide, oh, okay, let me actually put it online. And it ended up blowing up for them. I personally think that their popularity will go away within 5 years. But fair enough to them. If they make millions and millions of dollars, they're set for life. They don't need to be relevant, right? They don't need to be relevant anymore after 5 years. If they've made the money, good for them. Like, I don't hate them for it, right? Like good on them. But I'm saying that their lives didn't actually have to change that much. But also at the same time, not everyone can just sit around and play video games all day and make it. A lot of people don't make it, right? A lot of people just play and play and play, and they don't actually do anything because, well, algorithms. It's just the luck of the draw at some point. And like so that's the point, is that there are levels to this. There's a threshold to success, and it has to do with the level of stepping outside your comfort zone. You'll be more willing to step outside your comfort zone if it means that you have the chance to get your family out of poverty, or if it means you have the chance to save your mother from death. Whatever that thing is, right? I'm just giving a couple of random examples. Have nothing to do with me because, again, I'm well put together. My life is pretty good. I haven't had the traumas, but I'm giving a couple of examples. That desperation is what's on your mind. Nothing else, no fears, no setbacks are on your mind at all. That desperation, you have to do this because it will help that situation. That is what is able to push you outside of your comfort zone and get to that level of extraordinary success that can only be attained by some sort of a desperation, some sort of a trauma that is there. Whereas streamers, for example, I'm sure there are other examples, they're not doing that much that is different from their normal lives. So there's no sacrifice there. So they've reached success, but there's no longevity, there's no fruits to it. And perhaps even still they feel that they're not fulfilled, because we know how it is when you have success at a young age. Like at times you're just irresponsible and you don't know how to handle the fame, the pressure, the money, all that stuff, right? That's why sometimes it's harder, because then they become overwhelmed. And that might be the case for some of them. I don't know. I don't know them personally, but I feel like at least a few of them are going through kind of a little bit of regrets, a little bit of search for meaning, even having the success. Because they never had to make any sacrifices. Their lives continued to be easy, but they just made one small change to their thing that wasn't hard to do, that kind of pushed themselves, and now they're ultra successful. Like, I'd love to be a streamer. I think everyone would love to be a streamer. You sit around, you play video games for a few hours, you be a little bit funny, you have fun with friends, whatever it may be. You have some laughs, you make some clips, you have some viral moments, you blow up, you get big, you make a lot of money, you get ad revenue, you get sponsorship deals. You get to travel the world, go into tournaments at times. Like, I would love to do that. Like, dude, but not everyone can do that, right? It really, like, for them, it's the luck of the draw, right? And I think there's always an aspect of luck. But when it's something where you actually have to go out there and you need more of yourself to go and achieve that thing, that's where the brokenness comes in. That's where that desperation comes in. So I think there are levels to this. I think there is a threshold to what makes it actually you going outside of your comfort zone to achieve the success, to achieve the extraordinary, and what actually isn't actually that hard for you. For streamers, it's not hard, and that's what makes them successful, because it's easy. But true long-lasting success is something that is so incredibly difficult that you have to push through all fears and have every level of yourself present to kind of use up all that energy to get there. And I think the rocket fuel, the boost, I don't think it can come from anything else. I think some people have a personality trait where they're just ultra driven and obsessed. But I think even that in and of itself is a way to break you. Because, the classic insecure overachiever, right? That insecurity, it takes a toll on you after a certain amount of time, right? If you're if you graduated at the top of your class, but you're mad that you were second highest and not highest, and you're genuinely just angry about that, that is huge insecure overachiever mindset. That's just an example. But then that ends up breaking you because you end up kind of doing too much, right? You end up doing too much. You end up having such a huge pressure on yourself. So that ends up being the thing that breaks you anyway. That ends up being your trauma, your demons that you're fighting anyway. So personality traits can surely make you to be very successful. But there also has to really be something there. I just don't think that there is a world where you're just a normal dude, put together, lived an easy life, no stresses, no problems. You woke up one day and say, hey, I want to be a pro soccer player. And then all of a sudden your mindset shifts and you end up working so hard and you change your entire lifestyle, you change your entire persona and get good and make it pro and you make it happen. I don't think that happens. I just don't think that happens. I want someone to prove me wrong so that I can revamp and reshake this idea and be humbled, and then kind of actually be humbled to the fact that, oh, it's just me. Like, I'm the problem at times, right? So it's like, but I think truly, like I think truly that doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't happen where you just kind of live an easy life and then you say you want to do something truly extraordinary and expect things to continue to be easy. I think when you hit the wall, you're much more likely to kind of take a step back. You're much more likely to double back into your old lifestyle, your old roots, because the pursuit's difficult by nature. Doing the extraordinary thing, going out there and pursuing that big thing is going to be difficult by nature anyway. So I don't think that if your life's been easy and then you jump into difficulties, you're just able to handle them no problem, right? Like that's just not how it works. I think if you've already had difficulties in your life, those pursuits end up actually becoming so much easier for you. And that when it becomes easy, then you're just riding the wave until you actually make it into that successful situation, right? Wherever that thing may be. But whether it is athletics or if it is like just a specific career or a business or whatever it may be, something that requires more of you, it only really is possible if you've gone through some sort of big difficulty, big trauma, big thing that's broken you, and that will be your fuel. That will be the energy that you need to overcome those situations. I truly don't think that if you're comfortable, if it's easy, that there's any value to it. So the streamers, good for them. They've made money, and I wish everyone, I'm sure, would want to just have a lifestyle like that. Good for them. But I feel like that is only temporary. I feel like that is not something that's going to be long lasting. Whereas a guy like Tony Robbins, he's been doing it for 50 years because he's just dedicated his life, because he never had food as a kid. So he's dedicated his life to feeding as many people as possible and being a good influence, a servant to many. So he's lived a very, very good life, but I'm sure he still lives with his demons as well. Like when you're put together, you praise God, right? Praise God that you haven't gone through any terrible trauma, because no one really wants to go through it. And there's always the flip side, that the trauma can end up just breaking you and you end up drinking and alcohol and drugs, and it's like that can end up leading you to be on the streets, for example. So the trauma isn't necessarily like the factor that makes you successful. Like it's not the trauma. Like, you don't have to go through trauma to be successful. The trauma is not the determining factor. The trauma can also be something that breaks you and destroys you if you're not able to overcome it. It is for the people that are successful, the common denominator is trauma. Right? The people that are traumatic, the common denominator is not success. There is no success as the common denominator for people that have gone through traumas. But the people who are successful, there's a common denominator of trauma. It's just that they have put the energy into a pursuit, a bigger goal, rather than into the bad things. But unfortunately, it can also go to the bad things. So I think you shouldn't be asking for trauma. You shouldn't be praying to God asking that some terrible thing happened to you, because that pain sometimes is too hard to overcome. Sometimes you don't even put it towards a pursuit, you put it towards the negative stuff. But always be thankful that your life is easy. But understand that maybe that tough thing, that difficult thing, will be what gets you over the line. I truly believe that at the end of all of this, I truly believe that there is a possibility that if you have faith in God and you trust in Him fully, submitting to Him, that can be your jet fuel. That can be what makes you truly have that deeper desire. I personally am not there. I know people that perhaps have that level, but I'm not there yet. I don't have that deep desire. I'm still developing as a Christian, developing in my faith, and I'm not there yet. Like, when I'm in the moment of toughness and difficulty, like, I find that I definitely can be weak at times. But I truly believe if I were to submit fully to God, then I feel like that would replace any need to be broken. So that's why I say, be thankful that your life is a good life, that you are well put together, that you haven't been through anything that would probably destroy many people, that you haven't gone through it, because God's blessed you with a great life. And I think there is a world where you can use that to your advantage and praise God for it and trust in Him so that you don't have to go through the trauma. I feel like there's a world that that's possible. I'm not there yet, so I can't really prove it yet until I actually experience these things. Obviously, I'm still young, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, so maybe some terrible thing will happen to me that will make a big change in my life. Who knows? But as of now, in this moment, I pray and I glorify God that my life is so blessed. that things are so good right now. Because truly, if it wasn't that way, perhaps like maybe I would have made it, but I'd still be miserable, right? Or maybe I wouldn't have even made it anyway, and I'd just be miserable anyway. So my point here is that there is a world where that's the case, where it's like it is through faith and true submission to God that allows you to have to bypass the need for a difficult trauma. But I don't know yet. I think that's just a theory. I think I have faith, and I have faith that it is true, but there's nothing that I can really prove that's tangible because I'm not there yet, and I know I fail and I fall too often to my human emotions and desires and sins and laziness and all that stuff, because I'm not perfect, because I definitely fall short quite often. But back to the initial point of the trauma, the difficulty, the brokenness. I don't think that an easy life can lead to something truly successful, truly extraordinary. I think an easy life will stay easy, even for the streamers. Their life's still easy. Like, I'm sure they've met some good people. They've traveled the world. That's pretty extraordinary. But I feel like always internally within themselves, they'll feel like they're never enough. Because the truth is, they're not. Because they didn't reach it through some level of sacrifice and difficulty. They reached it just through pure luck and living the same life they've been living. And if you're the type of person that plays video games for 6 to 8 hours every day anyway, like, that is not really a noble quality that's going to make you successful, right? So my point being that there is a world where you can be traumatic and not successful, but I feel like truly to make that sacrifice, to truly go above and beyond, you need something there. An easy life, a simple life is not going to be enough for you. You're going to fall short when push comes to shove. But that difficulty, putting yourself through that pain, or even just some situation that happens, obviously the trauma that I've been talking about, the being broken type thing that I've been talking about, that could be the thing, right? But I don't think there's a world where you make it to that extraordinary thing, not having anything backing you, right? Not having anything that sits deeper within you. As I said before, you can have a personality trait, but I think that ends up being the thing that breaks you. You can have the trauma that breaks you, right? And you can have faith. And I think there is an option for faith. But even still, I believe God will still put you through difficult times to help you overcome them, because that is how God works, and that is his nature anyway. So you can have faith, but maybe it is through that you will go through the tough times, right? You will submit to God, and then things will fall apart. I think that is definitely a world as well. So going through this is only theory. This is not something that I can really prove. I just look at the people around me. I just look at the situations. I just look at people that are successful as a bunch of case studies. Like, I think it's pretty consistent with the fact that they are broken in some way. And the people that are well put together, they're not, like, they're okay with kind of just living the safe life because they don't want to go through the traumas. And again, don't blame them for it. I see both sides, because I kind of I've been on the extraordinary pursuit, and I've kind of been in the mediocre middle. I've seen it. I've seen them. So I can understand both perspectives, but I truly think that there is a trauma factor. There is a desperation factor to any big pursuit, whatever it may be. And if it is possible to have it through faith, then I believe that is truly the case. But I really do believe that there is that factor, and you can't just be living an easy life, be well put together, be completely normal, and make it big. You have to have something that really makes you obsessed. That is a more deeper feeling within you than just I want to make it because I just want to. You need to have a deeper reason, right? And I think that thing that breaks you usually is that deeper reason. But at the same time, it can actually destroy you. So you got to be very careful. So that's why my message is, don't ask for some bad thing to happen to you, because it's a terrible feeling regardless. But also understand that your life is good, that if you want to make something big, you need something. And you need to find that something. Maybe it can be through some voluntary suffering. It can definitely be through faith if you're faithful enough. But you need something. You're not going to make it big. You're not going to achieve the extraordinary thing if you're just continuing to stagnate. You're continuing to be mediocre in yourself, in your mindset, and your mentality. You need something to push you over the edge. And I think a huge one is the trauma, but it can absolutely be something else. So you got to go and find it. Again, don't ask for trauma, but understand that perhaps that is what it takes. And again, just a theory, could be wrong, could be completely wrong. Maybe there is a world where you could just go through it and live an easy life and somehow you make it big in every aspect, right? And it all works out for you. I could just be completely wrong, right? Sometimes there is just an aspect of luck, right, involved with everything, right? So that's really how I'm going to end off this episode. I think I've kind of touched upon everything I want to touch upon. I think I've done my best to make it distinctly different from an episode I talked about a couple of days ago. Because that episode, I definitely mentioned the trauma, the brokenness, all that stuff. But it's this idea that there is a level. There is a threshold to how it helps you, how it hurts you, how you can actually make it to something. And sacrifice is a huge piece of the puzzle as well. What you're actually sacrificing and how much of yourself you're going to need to get to the thing you want. It can absolutely be backed by something deeper than just living an easy life, right? So I think that is all I got to say for today. It's very interesting because I look at my own life and I've tried to connect it as much as possible to my own life because it's my show. So I think it does you guys a good service to kind of give you guys lessons from my personal life rather than just theories that I've come up with in my head that I have no backing with. But I truly do believe, or at least I'm starting to believe, that a huge reason why I fell short in many aspects of my pro football journey is because I didn't have anything that kind of pushed me over the edge. So then I ended up just being so stuck in my head, so stuck in my own fears that it ended up really hurting me. It ended up stopping me from going above and beyond and reaching my true potential. And my overthinking caused me to fail. Whereas if I had something deeper, it would have overridden all of my other thoughts in my head, and that desperation would have been what would have helped me get over the line. But I truly don't know. I don't know. It's just a theory. I think it truly is the case. I don't ask for trauma to happen to me, but I really think that it probably would have happened like that if that was the case. But again, I could be wrong, and I could have just not made it anyway because you're just unlucky. Like I could have just played my best stuff and been so good, and then the coaches just say, "Oh, actually, our team's full anyway." So that's pretty much what happened to me anyway, right? So it's like maybe that would have happened regardless of like the desperation. But I look at my life and I see that as a real possibility. And I see that the fact that I need to have more faith rather than fear as also a huge possibility. So that's why I talk about these things, because I think it's interesting, I think it's important, and I think that's the case. And as I said before in the show, like the trauma, the brokenness, the thing that broke people, the people that are super ultra successful, they have that in common, that there was some sort of thing that broke them. But the thing that breaks you it doesn't necessarily mean you're guaranteed to be successful, right? And that's a very important thing to understand. That's why you shouldn't wish for it, because you could also end up just ending up on the street because you can't get over the pain that you live with, right? So you got to be very careful. You got to walk that line. But I think start with faith. Start with going through voluntary difficulties, trying to callous that mind, trying to truly do difficult things every day that you don't want to do, and see if you can build on that. And if something bad happens to you and it's very circumstantial, you got to understand that you got to put the energy into the right place. And doing that will help you achieve whatever thing you want to achieve in your life. So that's what I got. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I really do hope that you take some of these lessons and apply them to your life in some way, that you understand that the easy is not going to help you achieve great things. But if you're okay with being average, then continue doing what you're doing, right? If you're fine with that and you've accepted the fact that you'll never be anything great, but your life will still be a good life, then good for you. Like, that is a great thing in and of itself. But if you accept that, great, keep going, right? But if you truly want something bigger, you either have to release yourself of the desire or you need something deeper within you, because you're not going to reach it just continuing to be mediocre. And that's something that I'm going to have to personally battle within myself. But I think hopefully it is good, a good message, good stuff for you, the viewer, whatever you are dealing with right now. You need to understand that if you want something big, you either have to release yourself of the desire or do a little bit more and find something that makes you even more driven to do more. But if you're okay with being average isn't a bad thing. It's kind of it's kind of been conceptualized as a bad thing because of like self-help industry, self-improvement, growth mindset industry online. But if you're okay with that, good for you, man. Keep on going, right? And then you're going to live a good life as well. You're going to kind of be more at peace in the end than the person that is broken but successful. So that's what I got to say. I think that's all I got for today. I appreciate you for being here. As always, show your support for this show in any way that you possibly can. Liking the video, leaving a comment, subscribing on YouTube, following on Spotify, watching some of the other great episodes I've made on the show, even just in the last week. I feel like I've made some very good episodes, just talked about some good stuff. So I really do hope you enjoy it. I really do hope you go and pursue that thing that you want to pursue. You push through those fears and you find that thing that can drive you a little bit further. And I really do believe in you, man. So I'm rooting for you. I'm praying for you. And I really do hope that you go and get whatever you want to get, right? And I hope this episode helped you in some way. If it did, please let me know. And let me know by showing your support. So thank you for watching this episode of the 365 podcast. That is all I got to say for today. I've already given you my final message, my final words. So, as always, I'll see you tomorrow for the next episode.